Hey, Tristin here with Provo Health. I wanted to talk for a minute about vitamin D today because vitamin D is super hot. Everybody loves it right now and actually have been for several years now. And people are taking really high doses of it in hopes of addressing a whole host of issues that include things like immune health, even depression, bone health, right? All kinds of stuff. But what I'm finding is that when I do blood tests on people, there are a lot of people coming in pretty high with their blood vitamin D level. To give you an idea, I like it to be between 30 and 50. That's the number there that shows up. And a lot of people I'm seeing, they're up in the 60s, 70s. I've had someone even close to 100. And this is problematic for a couple of reasons. One of them being that vitamin D is essentially converted into a hormone in your body. And when it comes to hormones, when we're taking high doses over a long period of time, our body will compensate and it will stop producing its own endogenous hormones that can then cause problems down the line for us. In addition to that, vitamin D interacts with a couple other things, and if we don't have that properly balanced, then we can create other issues. So the other two things in there are calcium and then essential fatty acids. And here's how the system works. We intake calcium through our diet, and then vitamin D is responsible for pulling that calcium out of our gut and into our bloodstream, which is great. We want that to happen. However, then our essential fatty acids are responsible for pulling the calcium out of the bloodstream and into our tissues. And ultimately, we need the calcium in the tissues because that's where all this stuff happens, especially when it comes to our immune health. We need our tissues to have access to calcium so that the white blood cells can do their job. And when you have really high levels of vitamin D, especially if you're not countering that with also plenty of calcium and also plenty of these essential fatty acids. By the way, the specific fatty acids that tend to be involved in this process are linoleic acid, linolenic acid, and arachidonic acid. So when these things aren't all balanced, we end up with low calcium levels in the tissues where they belong, and then we're actually more susceptible to getting sick instead of less susceptible. In addition to that, if we can't get calcium into the tissues, that means our bones don't have access to the calcium they need. And we already know that calcium is extremely important to bone health. So by taking really high doses of vitamin D, you can actually be triggering the exact problems you're trying to ameliorate or get rid of by taking the vitamin D in the first place. And once again, you also end up producing less endogenous vitamin D, which down the line can result in creating all these problems too if you don't continue taking it forever, which is really not a good idea in my opinion. So if you really insist on taking vitamin D, I would actually recommend getting your blood levels checked so that we can see if you are in that 30 to 50 range. And then if you are coming in high, then it's a good idea to take a break from it for a while. Or if you're really low, then that can help just confirm that it's a good idea for you. And then if you decide to take vitamin D, also, make sure you're getting some good sources of calcium, and no, pasteurized milk does not count for that. Raw milk could. I think I've talked about this before. A good non-treated spring water would also help with that. And then the other third thing you want to make sure you're getting if you're doing vitamin D is a good source of those essential fatty acids. My favorite is actually grass-fed organic butter. It tastes delicious, plus it's got plenty of those essential fatty acids that are going to help balance out the vitamin D when it comes to getting calcium into your tissues. So hopefully this was helpful and you learned something. Let me know if you have any questions about vitamin D, and I'll be happy to answer them as best as I can. Thanks. Bye.